Shalom Chaverim. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Another hot day here in the nation's capital. However, the weather forecast says that we'll have a little bit of cooler weather with a little lower humidity possible. So that's our weather forecast for this evening. And I always begin with just talking about the weather or the traffic or whatever to give people time to join our 8 o'clock. And please, questions about Judaism, questions about philosophy, theology, the meaning of life, things that I may be able to provide some teaching, some answers. I think the most I've said, again, I repeat myself and people come and go, so maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't. I don't want you to believe me. I don't want you to believe anyone. Look out the window. Look at reality. See if what I'm saying is consistent. The joke about that'll happen when pigs fly really is exactly what I'm talking about. Until we see pigs flying, it doesn't matter how many people say or what I read or what people post, until we actually see it happening and not just somebody telling us that somebody said. And so that's what I'm a teacher. And my goal is to answer questions, to teach. But I want you to think about it, to check it against reality, to read other newscasters, listen to other preachers, listen to what many of us are saying and what resonates with you and what makes sense when you look out the window and you see the world. Now, for those of you who are saying that you want me to you want to join, I say the same thing every week, and so far no one has taken me up on the offer. rabbiblock@hotmail.com. We'll meet in my Zoom room. We can pick topics, questions. We can just figure out how we're going to interact with each other, how we're going to be respectful, and that'll give us a chance to know each other. Actually, more for me to know you, since it's easy for you to know me, since I'm on YouTube, podcasting, and on TikTok. However, we could have a real meaningful discussion, and I feel like the Maytag repairman. I'm lonely. I really would like a co-host. Truly. So send a request, an email, and then we'll get together. The topic I picked tonight is Make America Happy Again. Okay? We finished the series, Make America Good Again. And if you missed some of them, you can hear them on podcasts, The Rabbi and I, The Wisdom of Rabbi Block, or you can watch the YouTubes. It's The Rabbi and I keep everything the same, and I did a series on YouTube that became podcasts that I then did on TikTok. So Make America Good Again, if you missed it. And don't think of the Zionist movement as monolithic. We're used to hearing a lot about political Zionism. I am not a political Zionist, and I have never been a political Zionist. I have always been a follower of Echad Ha'am, Asher Ginsburg, which makes me a social spiritual Zionist. And that branch of Zionism realized that a country is going to be tied up with politics. A country often has to do things that aren't consistent with philosophy, religion. And so I'm not a political Zionist, And I want to leave Israel as a country to be a country. And Israel's making some very bad decisions right now, but that's what I say. Obviously, Israel doesn't, because Israel's doing these things. Okay? So, when people keep asking about Zionism or what am I, Israel's a country. It exists. It's going to exist. And if you go to listen to my latest podcast and my latest YouTube about a two-state solution, 2 states of Palestine and Israel through the United Nations, based on recognition of each having the right to exist and neither vowing the destruction of the other. But that's political, and they're going to have to do that. So I'm not against, someone says I'm not against Judaism. And keep in mind that Israel doesn't speak for Judaism. As of yet, Palestine is not a country. During the UN partition, the UN declared Israel a country and voted on Israel becoming a country. There was a motion passed for a section called Palestine, but the UN didn't continue following through. And that's what I'd like to see the UN do now. Let's go back and have a country that recognizes the state of Israel to exist, and then have Israel recognize it. That's all politics. Now, the Talmud is often misunderstood. It's not a case of following or not following the Talmud. The Talmud is rabbinic discussion of the oral laws of the Mishnah, lots of other things as well. It notes in classes while the rabbis in the academy in Babylon discussed different aspects of Judaism. So it's not a case of following it or not following it. It's rather teaching. And it contains the majority and minority opinions. Someone says, this guy is Zionist. I'm not a political Zionist. A social, spiritual Zionist. And things are really a mess in the Middle East, and have been since the Ottoman Empire was dissolved. Since the First World War, things in the Middle East have been a mess. Now is a good time for the United Nations, for Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, the Emirates. Now is the time for everyone to get together and say, time out, let's stop. We need 2 countries that respect each other, 2 countries that want to live in peace with each other. Now, how can we help that come about? And that's what I think the Arab countries can do. Let's put aside what was, and let's build, and let's create a home for Palestinians. And let's continue the support for the state of Israel. So we have 2 countries. It's going to be up to, not you and me, not people posting all these charges and counter charges. No, this is going to be up to the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Lebanese, all the countries in that area, to recognize the legitimacy of the state of Israel and to recognize the legitimacy of a Palestine. And then let those countries in that area sit down and say, how do we do this? How do we now have peace so that people aren't throwing missiles, that people aren't starving each other, that people aren't raping each other? That's my challenge. Not to you there, because no. We have to get up tomorrow and go to work. We have to have a good time. We have to enjoy life. And throwing simple 1-2 sentences isn't going to solve. But there are people who can solve this. And that's my challenge. And if you listen to my podcast and the YouTube, I can explain it a little bit further. So to go back to the Talmud, it's discussion. And since it gives both the majority and minority opinions, it tells you the discussion. It tells how the conclusion was reached. And this is the beauty of Judaism. It's left up to the worshiper, the reader, the Jewish person to decide which way to come down on the argument. Okay? That's the nature of the Talmud. It's not revealed by God. It's teachings. And there's commentary on the Talmud. A lot of commentary. And there's a lot of discussions. And it's through discussion that we reach our conclusions. And that's why I want to invite any of you out there who want to be on next week, who want to co-host with me. And if you'd like, we can meet more than once a week on TikTok. I don't even want to use the word dialogue. Let's talk to each other. Rather than pithy sayings, rather than throwing stuff out there, let's talk about what's going on within our religions. Let's talk about what's going on with the Roman Catholic Church, what's going on with the Episcopal Church, with the Baptists, with the fundamentalists of all denominations. I'm not here to praise here. I'm not here to condemn. I'm an American. I don't vote in Israel. I don't agree with Israeli politics. I don't agree with what Israel is doing in the Gaza. I do not agree with what Israel is doing in the West Bank. However, Israel's a country, and it's not a case of condemning or whatever and that's what I mean by these pithy sayings. Kind of sad. Well, our topic is make America happy again. So this is what I want to ask you to do. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your happiness and give me a number. Give me a number on a scale of 0 to 10. Let's make it 0 to 10. 0 means completely unhappy, totally miserable. And 10 means you're in seventh heaven. So we have a 2. We have a 1. We have a 0. We now have a 6.2 and a 7 and a 6. Thank you. We have a 3 and a 1 and a 3. Now, for those of you that gave me those numbers, what would you need to move you from a 2 to a 3, or from a 1 to a 2, or an 8 to a 9, or a 0 to a 1? Be specific, okay? Peace, my beshert, my own way. And to say that your happiness depends on another country not existing makes absolutely no sense. What if I said to you, my happiness depends on no Roman Catholics? You'd say, that's ridiculous. What if I were to say to you, my happiness depends on no France? Come on. Let's pull away from the pithy sayings and the politics, and let's look at moving from a 1 to a 2, a 2 to a 3. That you can do. That's something that's reasonable, available, attainable. Give me something. A good warm bath will get you from any 1 to a 2 to a 3 to a 4, and that means relaxing. And to pin your happiness on someone else's action dooms you never to be happy. Like I just said, if my happiness depends upon Canada not existing anymore, then I've pinned my happiness on something that's not going to exist or happen. So I'm not going to be able to move my happiness. So we want to bring the scale back to our own personal lives. Okay? Yeah, Canada did commit genocide, by the way, against the Inuit. And the Canadians did take native children and put them into orphanages, forced them to convert to Christianity, and took them away from their parents. So Canada isn't as pure and clean as we may think or like to think. However, it's a country, and it recognizes the mistakes it made. It didn't at that time. Someone just asked me, what does the Talmud say about non-Jews? One feature of Judaism, and something in the Talmud, and that we all say, is you need to find the religion that resonates with you, and that's okay. Your religion is fine. We're not out to convert anyone. We're not out to condemn other religions. You look at your religion and see how does it work for you. Are you happy with it? Is it moving you from a 1 to a 2, a 2 to a 3? Does your religion help you cope with the world? Does your religion help you deal with getting up and going to work? Does your religion keep you from hating and destroying? Are you following the teachings of your religion? Mm-hmm. Now, being a therapist, one of the things that's important in therapy is catharsis. And so, in a sense, I'm glad that I'm helping some of you with your pent-up anxiety, undifferentiated anxiety, some of your hate, and some of you seem very hateful based on what you're telling me. And part of the process of therapy is to get it out. And for you to attack me, to make statements, or to threaten, that's healthy for you. Mm-hmm. We don't want to act on anything. Okay? That's important, because once we take our thoughts and turn it into action, then we've entered a different realm. But to be able to express oneself, and for all of you who are telling me about Zionism or Palestine, I want you to email me and come on next week and let's talk about it. Show me that you're serious about a Palestine. Show me that you're serious about your accusations about Israel's foreign policy. Thailand and Cambodia can't seem to sort out their border disputes. Can I have people on now? No, because it would be chaos, cacophony, stepping on each other. And no. However, definitely want you on. So that's not the question. Mm-hmm. I've thought, and I would like someone to help me. I really would like to have a talk show where people call in and I talk to them and we hear them. It's just me, and I don't know how to go about that. And there are podcasters, there are individuals out there who have a show where people call in. And someone just said, could they? Yes, I would love to do that. I don't know how. And with just me. So whoever asked me that, if you please email me, then you can help me create a there must be a word for it, where people talk and call in on a live show. Someone just said about children being, you mean you want to get your children, have a bar mitzvah ceremony for two at the same time? Certainly, I've done that. I've never done more than 2 people. And remember, the age for bar and bat mitzvah, for b'nai mitzvah, is like a minimum. There's no upper end. So one can have a bar mitzvah any age after you're 13. 10, 10 or 11? No. But 14, 15, 16, 85, 90. And if you have two children and one is a year or two older, then when they're both over the age of 13, we certainly can have a B'nai Mitzvah. Someone asked me if I've been to Israel. Yes, I lived in Israel 69 to 70. No, 70 to 71. And I made several trips to Israel prior to that. But I am not an Israeli citizen. Okay. I did the Daf Yom, and I got too involved in it and lost track because I spent too much time. It was too intriguing. So the answer to that is no. Someone just asked me the same question again about B'nai Mitzvah. So let's go back to happiness. One of the keys, as I mentioned, was not pinning our happiness on events we cannot control. Even if it's something as, gee, I would be happy if this particular person became my partner. Unless you have contact with that person, unless you can have a relationship, you're pinning your happiness on something that'll never happen, and you won't be happy. And so, one of the important pieces to our 0 to 10 scale is what would move me from a 4 to a 3? Going on a vacation, going out in the Chesapeake Bay, going to. Now, if I'm going to say, oh, I could move from a 3 to a 4 if I went on vacation to the Galapagos Islands. In terms of expense or time, that may not be reasonable. And so, in making America happy again, one of our problems is we pick things that are beyond our reach, too expensive, unattainable, but more than that, things we can't control. From your experience? No. In Israel, Israeli citizens are treated the same. I have a problem with the territories, and I don't like all the settlements, and I don't like the way the settlers are treating the inhabitants of the territories. But again, that's Israeli politics. And when I lived in Israel, with Muslims, with Palestinians, with Druze, with Arabs, it was much more income job related than it was anything to do with nationality. I'm Reform, if that helps you. Someone just asked me. And here in the United States, we still don't respect our indigenous population. We still don't. So for many of you, this would be a better cause. Rather than talking to me about Palestine, but you certainly can join movements here in the United States that want to support our indigenous population. There you can make a difference. You can make a difference here with our indigenous population. With also, you can make a difference here with the rights of minorities in the United States. And for many of you, you're looking, knowing that you can't do anything about that. And then you can feel good about it because you're making remarks here or remarks there. And then you can feel good, but it's not productive. It really isn't. And that's my point about happiness. Happiness means being productive. Happiness means picking things that we can work on. Someone just said, what do you think about Israel and Palestine? I started with that. Please, whoever asked that, the Rabbi and I on YouTube, the Rabbi and I podcast, and the Wisdom of Rabbi Block podcast. That'll answer your questions that I already answered tonight. Yeah, I think the Israelis in the West Bank should be held accountable. And I'm criticizing the government of Israel. You're not standing up, you're not stopping the settlers. And I don't agree with that. And you're wrong there. You're wrong. That doesn't mean the country shouldn't exist. Just like here in the United States, there are many things we need to work on, like helping our minorities, helping our indigenous population. And so, you listen to my podcast, you watch on YouTube, my proposal for the UN about a Palestine and the support for the state of Israel. There that goes. So let's go back to happiness. What will move you from a 2 to a 3, a 3 to a 4, a 5 to a 1? And let's focus on what's attainable. And let's focus on what we have control over. And many of your comments are about things that neither of us can control. And it's good for discussion. It's good to talk about the history in the Middle East, how we got into the mess we're in. And Egypt, Jordan, the Emirates, and Morocco pretty soon recognize the state of Israel, the sovereignty of the state of Israel, the right of Israel to exist. So it can be done. However, it's up to the other Arab countries to join in. Now, if you want to use your voice, then there are many movements out there for peace. And I don't have my list with me. I don't know if I posted it or not. I'm remembering because I did a series. Yes, the Rabbi and I YouTube. If you go back in time, less than a year, if you look at some of the episodes, I talk about a Palestine, I talk about the Quran and the Torah, and I also mention the organizations that are trying to get peace. And so for those of you who want to support Palestine, that's where you need to go, to those organizations. So let's get back to make America happy again. Get rid of taxes. Seniors shouldn't have to pay any taxes. I shouldn't have to pay real estate taxes. I shouldn't have to pay taxes on my taxes. That would make me happy. Okay. Do I want to become political? I was on the school board in Harford County for 10 years. That's how I wanted to affect change in the public school system, by getting on the school board. And I say that to all of you out there. Get involved in local politics. County, state, lots of levels you can get involved in. Whatever state you're in, start with the county politics, city politics, town politics. If you really want to affect change, and it appears many of you want things to change, that's where to go. That's what to do. Don't go away. I'll be right back. You see, I didn't pick up my book. That's where I went to get a copy of my book. Because I have to have a word from my sponsor. Somebody has to pay for me to be on TikTok. Somebody has to pay for my new microphone and my new camera. And so, please, available at Amazon, available Barnes & Noble online, and it's available at your local independent bookseller. How to Be Jewish in 30 Seconds. And keep in mind, the cartoons alone are worth the price of the book, and the cartoons are by cartoonist Joe Sutliff. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please, YouTube, The Rabbi and I, the podcast, The Rabbi and I, and next Wednesday.